Hey, how you guys doing? My name is Bryson with First Half Threads, and today we're going to be talking about screen printing. This is for the beginners, so we're going to talk about the breakdown of equipment, press types, vendors, and all of what the heads and platens actually mean. For a list of stuff that you will need to get into printing, you'll need a press, you'll need emulsion, some kind of darkroom, squeegees, inks, and a screen. These are the basic pieces of equipment you will need in order to get started with screen printing. Now, depending on whether you want to go into a manual or an auto, I recommend that if you are just starting out to go with the manual press. This is going to be less expensive. It is going to be more time consuming because you are manually printing every single color, but it is a good entry level. Where you can find a good manual press, I recommend Marketplace. You can get a lot of secondhand stuff for cheap, just to make sure that this is something that you want to get into without spending a lot of money to get started. Now, when we talk about presses, there are a bunch of different setups that you can do. You can get a one head, one platen. And when we talk about heads, that just refers to how many screens you can actually get on the machine for every single color in your logo. So for platens, one platen means that you can put one shirt on the machine at a time, and from there it kind of scales up. Typically, your most average press is going to be a 4x4, possibly a 4x6. So you can do 4 different colors, either 4 shirts or possibly 6 shirts. And then again, from there it kind of goes up. For instance, the press that we have here is an 8x6. That means that we can do 8 different colors, 6 shirts simultaneously. Once you get into the auto presses, again, a little bit more expensive, and you do have to be cautious of where you're setting up at, because getting those machines into the actual shops, you do need possibly a garage location or something a little bit bigger. You cannot break these machines down to kind of put them into a regular door. So this is something that you have to consider when getting an auto press. In addition to that, they do speed up production. But if you are just getting started, again, I do recommend to just start with a manual press. We want to work on techniques before working fast. So work slow, make sure you got it down right, make sure that this is what you want to do before actually getting into the game of an auto press to speed up production. Now let's talk about inks. Picking the right ink, or the wrong ink for that matter, will make or break your project. There are a few different inks. Today we'll just talk about Pastelsol inks, water-based inks, and one of my personal favorites, Discharge. All of these inks come with a variety of pros and cons. Pastelsol inks are probably one of the most common inks in the industry. They are very forgiving. I do recommend this if you are just starting out. A lot of people that I talk to, when they start with water-based inks, and it's a living nightmare for them. That's why they end up getting out of printing altogether. Pastelsol inks sit on top of the fabrics. They are a little bit thicker, but as far as vibrant, nice, clean prints, this is where you want to be. There are additives you can add to Pastelsol inks that will help give a softer feel to help mimic a water-based or discharge ink. But again, just starting out, this is very forgiving. We want to work on techniques before working on the razzle dazzle. Now, the second inks that we can work on are water-based inks. Water-based inks sit into the fabrics. They are a lot softer to the touch, but they are not as forgiving when you're on press. They dry very fast, so you need a couple tips and tricks to help work the ink and keep it lubricated. Pro tip for you guys, definitely recommend getting a water bottle with a little bit of water in there. In between your prints, you want to just keep your screen very lubricated if you do decide to go the route of water-based inks. Water-based inks are very eco-friendly, and they do give a cool vintage look. If that is something that you or your brand want to start off with, does again take a little bit of finesse. You want to make sure that you have the right screens when working with water-based inks. A mesh count for water-based inks, you want to start off with possibly a 110. Don't recommend going higher than a 160. We'll get into the screen and mesh count in a little bit later demo video, but for today, we're just going over the basics. Discharge inks are probably one of my favorites. They remove the dyes from the shirts and replace it with pigments when it's activated through heat. This gives you a very soft feel. They only work on 100% cotton and on some dark shirts, but again, recommend staying in the 100% cotton when doing this. This is not going to be used ideally for mom and pop or printing in your garage because they do give off a very toxic smell and they're not very beginner friendly. So again, I do recommend to start off with pastel inks. Once you get more acquainted with your equipment, your shop, then work into doing discharge inks or water-based inks. I recommend for discharge inks to keep your shop very ventilated. That way you don't get that chemical smell. Pro tip for you guys, curing your shirts are very important. Definitely read the instructions on what kind of inks you have. Most inks in today's society for pastel inks do have a very low cure starting point, but we want to make sure that our inks are hitting at least 320 degrees to be fully cured. Some of the other inks do go a little bit lower, starting about 270. Just read your label and your instructions when picking out your inks to make sure they are cured properly. Now for water-based inks, you can use literally just a blow dryer to start off with this. So price point wise, a little bit lower, but a little bit more technical when working with water-based inks. But it just depends on what you want to do. Definitely recommend hitting us up if you do have additional questions on what kind of inks or what kind of equipment to go ahead and start off with your shop. Definitely hit the comment button below so we can go ahead and get you guys situated. Now, when it comes to vendors, I recommend just going with screenprinting.com. These guys are really great. They help with a lot of beginners. They have a lot of tutorials on their actual website, and they have a large variety of stuff that you can actually use. Now that we have the equipment, the inks, let's talk about squeegees. Recommend just starting off with a 60 durometer squeegee. The durometer speaks about how soft the actual squeegee is. 60 is very well rounded. You can use it for a lot of the different inks. When you start using stiffer inks, you might want to go up to a 90, but honestly, the most common used squeegee is going to be a 60 durometer. Again, if you're buying just a kit from Marketplace, most of this you won't even have to take into consideration. Work on your technique. Once you work on your technique and you want to start trying a different varieties, then work on different squeegees to figure out what's going to work best for you. Now, when it comes to your dark rooms and exposing your screens, there are a couple different ways to do this. You can work on creating just a small box, possibly using a closet to create a dark room effect. Now, as far as exposing the screen, you can use some lights or you can use something as simple as the sun. You take your emulsion, your transparency, put it out in the sun. Your timing has to be right. You might want to look at something possibly around 30 to 40 seconds. Depending on where you are at in the country, every time you take it out to the sun, it is going to be a little bit different. If you didn't want to go that route, you could, again, just create something simple like a box, use some ultraviolet lights to mimic the effect of exposing your screens. And if you don't want to go that route and you want to just be straight commercial grade, you can get an exposure unit. This will help speed up your process when it comes to exposing your screens. Literally, it's vacuum sealed, so it will take about 20 seconds to do. All right, so that is all of the technical stuff that you need to know in order to start your own screen print company or brand. Definitely, again, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and following this channel. Much more to come. Thank you.